Two teenage boys have been injured in a stabbing near a Scarborough high school, and a police source tells CP24 the suspects are also believed to be teenagers.
In Peel, police are searching for a suspect who they say followed a woman off a bus and then stabbed her nearly to death in an unprovoked attack.
And a new study finds Ontario hospitals spent more than $9 billion on nurses and other staff from for-profit agencies in a 10-year period.
And the Maple Leafs, they're coming back home with their series against the Panthers, tied 2-2 after dropping Game 4 in Florida.
You're watching Live at 5.
Hello, thanks for being here. I'm Beatrice Faisman.
And I'm Lena Latafat. Welcome to Live at 5. Multiple suspects are being sought after two students were injured in a stabbing near a high school in Scarborough this afternoon.
CP24's Phil Perkins joins us now live outside Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate with the very latest. So what is the latest, Phil, from police?
Okay, well, the latest right now, Beatrice, I believe from your police sources, that the two victims are students at Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate Institute, which is just east of where we're standing here at the scene of the crime at Guildwood and Livingston in the community of Guildwood. It's two boys, 15 and 16 years old, we believe to be. They are students at the school. They were attacked, according to police, around 1:50 this afternoon. And police may have involved the bus stop here. There's a little bit of blood splatter from where we're standing right now, but nothing which looks like a huge melee took place. However, they were both taken to hospital with minor injuries. As for the suspects, police telling CP24 they're looking for multiple teenage suspects wearing all black clothing, and they are still looking for them in that sense. And again, this happened off school property. The school wanted to confirm that while the two students who are been attacked are students, this happened off school property. We have been at the plaza for a couple hours, maybe, potentially talking to people here. Our Scott Lightfoot from CTV Toronto, and at this point, we haven't spoken to anyone who actually witnessed this attack thus far. But again, 15 and 16-year-old boy, students at Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate Institute, taken to hospital with minor injuries. Police still on the lookout for multiple teenage suspects wearing all black clothing. Back to you two.
All right, our Phil Perkins reporting live from Scarborough this afternoon. Phil, thank you. And the search continues for a suspect in a random attack in Mississauga that has left a woman with near fatal injuries.
Yeah, our crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live with the latest on this investigation. Steve.
Yeah, we reached out to Peel Regional Police. They do not have any new information pertaining to this investigation. When they do identify who this person is, and they will, it's just a matter of time, they will then, if they can't arrest him or locate him, what they will do is get an arrest warrant. And that way that person will be arrestable if they are investigated by any police service, depending on the return radius on the warrant. In a situation like this, it could be Canada-wide. So if that person were to be stopped out west sometime, if there is a warrant for their arrest, well, then that person can be arrested. But they're not at that stage right now. But what we do know is that a woman in her 20s got off of a transit bus here in Mississauga Saturday night, just before 6:30 p.m. near Eglinton and Highway 10. She was followed off the bus by a male suspect unknown to her, and he proceeded to stab her. She is in serious condition in hospital, and the police have released a very good image of the suspect. And obviously somebody who knows this guy will certainly recognize the picture. There's his picture right now. Or if somebody knows of him, they certainly will recognize that as well. And the police are asking for all information. So if you do suspect you know who this is, you can even provide an anonymous tip. As long as you're not a witness to the offense, you can drop a dime to the police and say, I think this could be my neighbor or whoever it is, and they certainly will follow up on every lead. Now, this is a random attack as opposed to targeted. And Beatrice and I were talking about this in the last couple of hours. Target attacks are just as serious as random attacks, of course, but target attacks typically have some sort of history of animus, or there's some sort of criminality that goes along with the attack. When it's random, it certainly has the tendency to paralyze a community because it could affect their everyday way of life for fear that they may be the next victim, and it could affect their quality of life. So it certainly is a concern to police managers when it comes to managing crime and disorder. The police are actively trying to locate this person, so they are asking if you do have information, again, or if you suspect you know who that might be, and you don't want to get involved, and as long as you're not a Crown witness to the offense, you can provide anonymous information, and the police will follow up with every lead. Very important that they get this guy, because for whatever reason, whether it's a crisis or not, it is something that needs to be investigated and treated if it's something else, and the police are very concerned. So if you know who this is, or you think you know who it is, give the police a call. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Steve Ryan reporting live from Eglinton and here, Ontario and Mississauga. Thank you, Steve. Staying in Mississauga, a man has been charged in multiple sexual assaults and an attempted kidnapping.
26-year-old Rick Jr. Arson is facing a combined 4 charges. Arson allegedly attacked and sexually assaulted 2 women on separate occasions in October and March and attempted to force a woman into his vehicle in early April near Airport Road and Morningstar Drive. Police say Arson was awaiting sentencing on similar charges in Timmins when the incidents occurred.
Well, police have recovered one of 2 vehicles involved in a fatal hit and run in Scarborough last week, but they're still looking for both drivers.
This is the white cargo van that police initially said first struck the woman. It was found Friday in the McCowan Road and Kingston Road area. Investigators say it was the first of 2 vehicles that struck this woman who was walking on Birchmount Road north of St. Clair on Thursday night.
Dashcam video showed drivers avoiding the woman as she walked in the northbound lanes of Birchmount Road not long before she was struck. The 27-year-old died at the scene.
Police say the woman was also hit by a dark-colored SUV that was traveling southbound on Birchmount Road. They're still looking for that vehicle and the driver. Investigators with traffic services also want to speak to the drivers of 3 vehicles that were traveling southbound on Birchmount Road at approximately 9:25 last Thursday night. Those vehicles are a black Chevy Tahoe, a light-colored SUV, and a dark sedan.
2 firefighters had to be taken to hospital with minor injuries after responding to a 3-alarm fire in Cabbage Town.
Yeah, flames broke out at a home on Aberdeen Avenue late last night. This viewer video sent to CP24 capturing flames and smoke billowing out of a house near Carlton and Parliament.
Yeah, crews knocked down that fire and remained in the area to monitor the situation. They have since cleared. Platoon Chief Robert Hewson says there is extreme damage to that home.
We were called to a residential fire just after midnight. Crews arrived to find a fully involved house fire. They made a rapid interior attack to extinguish the fire. Unfortunately, during the incident, we had 2 firefighters injured that were transported to hospital. They are being looked after by Toronto paramedics, and there's reports of their minor injuries, hopefully, and the fire is now listed as under control.
I was asleep in my bed, as one would be. It's a rather sad ending of the hockey game for Toronto hockey fans. I went to bed, and I have my music on in the background, you know, relaxing music, the stuff I recorded here at home. And it's playing, and it's pretty loud, because it's there to just sort of overwhelm whatever other sounds I might be hearing. Like, you know, you're a musician, you get background noise. And then I could hear the fire alarms going, my alarm on the 3rd floor where I'm sleeping. So I jumped out of bed and I went down the hall, and it was all smoke.
Elbows to elbows, yeah. That's what I was worried about. It's like, is this gonna go? But when the firefighters did get here and the hoses came out, they got it out pretty quick. But it did spread to the house beside it, and it just moves so fast. And I'm in the industry. I do fire extinguishers for a living, but I've never seen a fire that big and move that fast. So it was a scary moment.
Officials have not said if the fire is considered suspicious at this time.
It is now 5:08, 23 degrees out there. Let's get a check on the evening commute with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa and Adjoa. Adjoa.
Oh, good afternoon, Lena. Yeah, it has been a slow go, and the roads were literally heating up on the 401 westbound. This was just as you made your way past the DVP 404. We did have the right lane of the highway blocked with a vehicle fire being cleaned up. Fire is out, but the southbound 404 ramp to the westbound 401 collectors is still blocked because of the cleanup that does continue. You can access the westbound 401, and you're being forced into the express at this point. It is impacting the drive on the southbound 404, very slow from well before Finch. Looking for those all-important alternatives, Don Mills or Vic Park or Woodbine are your best bets just to see it through. Eastbound on the 401, problems look like they're about to clear. Collision eastbound 401 collectors through Dixie. Find the right lane blocked with this crash and getting slower on the Don Valley Parkway north this hour as you head from Bayview Bloor and you continue up to the 401. Outside of camera view on the 403 westbound on the ramp to Fiddler's Green in Hamilton, we are dealing with a collision that does have the right lane occupied.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Well, work has now begun at King and Church to replace a 142-year-old water main in the area, and the busy downtown intersection is set to fully close this summer. It's the story of the city.
Yes, seriously. Let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan for more on that work and how it's going to impact drivers. Melissa.
Yeah, Lena, Beatrice, it is construction o'clock here in downtown Toronto. It's going to stick around all summer long. We're at King East and Church, and it is a busy intersection, as you can see behind me here. What you can expect beginning, well, actually, work started yesterday. It is underway right now, and it is only going to increase as the months go on. So at the moment, it is the north side of King Street East that's getting the work done right now. As you mentioned, it is on that 142-year-old water main that's getting that work done. And then it's going to move to the south side. And then after that, in July, the whole intersection will be closed down. So at this moment, we're seeing one lane of traffic open in both directions. But by July, that's going to shut down completely for July and through to the end of August. It's not just the water main work that's going to be done here. It's also some track repairs, replacements, that kind of thing. So a lot of work all going to get done in one fell swoop here. But what that means, if you are driving downtown starting now through to the end of the summer, is you could expect some big headaches in this area, especially during that full shutdown during July and August. It's also really impacting TTC service. As you can see, all of these tracks behind me here for streetcars, well, you're not going to see streetcars on them. We're talking the 303, 503 Kingston Road, 504, 304 King, and the 508 Lakeshore. Those streetcars diverting through this area. So you're going to be seeing them on Richmond, on Queen, on Adelaide instead. You know, we were talking with the Transit Advocacy Group last week, and they're estimating that this is going to affect some 100,000 riders. Those streetcars are very busy, and they're going to be going through a different route while this work is being done. So we're seeing workers here right now, a lot of equipment. We've got the fencing that is up right now, a lot of pylons showing us that the work is underway, and it's only going to ramp up. Again, July and August is when you're going to see this intersection fully shut down through to the end of August. The TTC estimating that TTC streetcar service will fully resume here sometime in September. Back to you.
All right, so this is not only impacting drivers in our city, it's also impacting TTC riders. No one is safe.
Yeah, it's just same story. It's the Toronto story.
Yeah. All right, Melissa, thanks so much for this. Well, the Office for Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow says the price of parking at TTC parking lots will not be rising.
You can park at the stations. Just getting around might be difficult. It comes after a report proposed hiking rates starting this summer to actually generate revenue. And the report is set to go before the Transit Board on Wednesday and recommends increasing prices at 10 of the 23 lots across the city. A spokesperson for the mayor says there will be a motion introduced at the board meeting to help defeat the increase.
And there will be early closures on parts of Line 1 for subway riders to keep in mind this week. Trains will stop running between College and Shepherd Young at 11 p.m. starting tonight through Friday for track work. However, service will be extended by an hour on that stretch to accommodate fans who are attending the Leafs playoff game. Shuttle buses will be running, and there will also be limited service between Vaughan Metropolitan Center Station and Pioneer Village Station beginning tonight through Wednesday.
It is 5:13, feeling like 25 degrees out there. A beautiful day. Coming up, we'll take a closer look at new legislation the Ford government is introducing to speed up home construction in the province.
Welcome back. A new study finds Ontario hospitals spent more than $9 billion on nurses and other staff from private agencies over the last decade.
The Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives looked at financial statements for 134 Ontario hospital corporations. The study found that between 2013 and 2023, public hospital spending on staff increased 6%, but spending on private agencies increased 98%.
Andrew Longhurst, the author of this report, also a political economist at Simon Fraser University, joined us to talk more about these findings.
We know it's far from ideal, but it's often what's used to keep hospitals and health services operating. But the problem is it doesn't solve the problem of vacancies and staffing shortages. What we've seen over the last decade in the province is a system where the provincial government has underfunded public hospitals, and that means they're not allowed to negotiate wages and compensation that is attractive, that is enabling hospitals to recruit and retain that more cost-effective public sector workforce.
And CP24 spoke to a registered nurse about the state of nursing across this country.
When you think about agency nurses, which you're referring to, it creates a big discrepancy for the continuity of care. So when a nurse stays in a unit day over day, they create relationships with not only the nurses and the team, but with the patients. So when you have agency nurses coming in for a shift and being taken out in another hospital, that relationship is lost. And that creates gaps in the system, the safety nets are broken, and likely this leads to patient issues and concerns.
And a spokesperson for the Minister of Health says the government has brought on 100,000 new nurses since 2018. That statement goes on to say, we've directed the College of Nurses of Ontario to break down barriers for internationally educated healthcare workers. The spokesperson also says the total hours worked by agency staff in hospitals remain under 2% of total hours worked in hospitals, and over 97% of nursing graduates enter the public workforce.
And still at Queen's Park, the province is tabling new legislation that aims to cut red tape and get homes and housing infrastructure built faster. Housing Minister Rob Flack says a big part of the plan is changing how development charges are imposed.
The suite of proposals we are tabling have been developed in close consultation, and I want to emphasize, close consultation with all home building stakeholders, including municipalities, AMO, Ontario Home Builders Association, Build, and our own housing supply implementation team. Close consultation. They have all been part of the imaginative solutions that are part of our legislation, again being tabled this afternoon. This bill is also a critical step in protecting Ontario jobs and communities by delivering on our government's commitment to get vital projects moving faster without delay.
Opposition leaders are criticizing the Ford government's track record on housing and say they're concerned about more powers being given to ministers.
We're into year, 7, 8 now, and the government has yet to build housing. I mean, they've had more housing bills than actual units built. This is a government that has failed very dramatically to build housing here in the province of Ontario, and so they keep putting forward new bills. We'll wait to see what is in this newest legislation, but we have some concerns right off the bat. For example, why would this government want to give a minister of infrastructure who has so badly failed at her job more unchecked powers? I think they should be reining in that minister, not giving her more power.
This bill is yet another example of overreach of this government into municipal affairs and particularly into planning and zoning. I've always said that this is a premier who really had always wanted to be the mayor of the city of Toronto and control planning and zoning. And you see that once again in this legislation, an encroachment on municipal planning and municipal authority.
The province says the Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act would create a more standardized construction environment across Ontario's 444 municipalities.
It's now 5:19, 25 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
The U.S. and China agree to slash tariffs for 90 days. We'll have the latest on the global trade war and the impact on the markets after the break. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump says a temporary deal has now been reached on trade with China, which will slash tariffs between the two largest economies in the world for 90 days.
We achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue on the largest structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on. that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that.
And CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham spoke about what this agreement with China could mean for Canada's trade talks with the Trump administration.
I think as Canada and as the Prime Minister begins to look more closely at renegotiations, specifically around the USMCA, I think we could look at these ongoing talks with China as well as with the UK to give us an indication of where the president is now on tariffs. And I think what we're seeing here is not only a capitulation, but a president who has tried this maneuver and quite frankly has seen that it doesn't work.
President Trump says he'll be speaking with Chinese President Xi Jinping soon, possibly by the end of the week. The trade dispute between the U.S. and China had brought nearly $600 billion in two-way trade to a standstill.
Meantime, it was a great day for investors. Markets in Canada and the U.S. rallied on news of this U.S.-China trade deal. The TSX was up 174 points, or 0.69%, while it was an even stronger day for American stocks. The Dow jumped over 1,100 points, or 2.8%. The S&P 500 was up 3.3%, and the NASDAQ had the best day, posting a gain of 4.4%.
Haven't seen that in a while. It is 5:24, feeling like 25 out there. You're watching Live at 5.
Well, the Leafs' Max Domi has avoided suspension for a hit at the end of last night's game, but he's been fined $5,000. We're going to tell you more about this next. Welcome back. It is now a best-of-3 series for the Leafs and Panthers after Florida took Game 4 last night.
On it, 2-on-1, Bennett to the net, scores!
Sam Bennett and Carter Verhaeghe were the only goal scorers in this one, lifting the Panthers to a 2-0 win over the Leafs. The series now tied at 2 games apiece, with the home team winning all of the games so far. Joseph Woll was a wall last night, making 35 saves for the Leafs.
9 seconds left here in regulation. Heavy hit on Barkov.
And Max Domi has avoided suspension for a hit at the end of that game last night. The Leafs forward was given a major penalty for boarding Panthers captain Alex Barkov with 8 seconds left in the third period. Domi was fined $5,000 by the league, but he will be eligible to play in Game 5 on Wednesday.
We're also hearing from head coach Craig Berube, who talked to reporters today and says he's not overly worried about Austin Matthews' big struggles to actually find the back of the net.
You just got to keep playing. I get it, but he does a lot of other things in the game that really dictate things, and does a great job with a lot of other areas of the game. And he's just got to keep focused on that. I mean, he's going to get his looks, and just stick with what he's doing, and don't get too frustrated with anything, because it's not just about scoring goals. He's got a lot of other stuff he does really extremely well for us.
The series now shifts back to Toronto for Game 5 on Wednesday.
Going to be a big one. It is 5:28, 25 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
The search continues for a suspect in a random attack in Mississauga that left a woman with near fatal injuries. We'll take you live to that scene coming up.
Two teenage boys have been injured in a stabbing near a Scarborough high school. A police source telling CP24 the suspects are also believed to be teenagers.
And police are searching for a suspect who they say followed a woman off a bus and then stabbed her nearly to death in an unprovoked attack.
A new study finds Ontario hospitals spent more than $9 billion on nurses and other staff from for-profit agencies in a 10-year period.
And the Leafs are returning home with their series against the Panthers tied 2-2 after dropping Game 4 in Florida.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Ladifat.
And I'm Beatrice Faisman. Welcome to Live at 5. Let's start in Peel Region now, where the search continues tonight for a suspect in a random attack in Mississauga that left a woman with near fatal injuries.
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live with this investigation. Steve.
Yeah, we reached out to Peel Regional Police, and they have said that they are actively looking for the suspect, trying to identify him. They have no new information as of right now. But it certainly is a concerning occurrence for both the police and for this community out here in Mississauga. So police tell us that Saturday night, 6:30 p.m., a woman in her 20s had just gotten off of a transit bus near Eglinton and here, Ontario. She was followed off that bus by a male suspect. He then stabbed her randomly out of the blue, unprovoked, for no apparent reason. She is still in hospital in very serious condition, and the police are now trying to identify who this suspect is, and we will show you his photograph that the police have released. It is a very good picture of this man, so those that know him will certainly, here's his picture right now, those that know him certainly will recognize him, and those who think they may know who he is, they can also provide information to the police. If you have not witnessed this stabbing and you want to stay completely anonymous, you can do so by providing third-hand information anonymously to the police, and they'll follow up on every tip that you provide them. Now, as we said, this is a random attack, and you've got targeted attacks and random. Both are equally as serious, but usually with a targeted attack, there is some sort of animus between the suspect and the victim, or there is some other form of criminality, whether that's a robbery or whatever it could be. In this particular case, there is no criminality other than the aggravated assault or the attempted murder, and it was completely unprovoked. So these type of attacks have a tendency to paralyze a community's day-to-day lives, because if it's random, oftentimes your community, whose perception is the reality, may feel that they may be the next victim. And in doing so, they may stop from doing their day-to-day routines, thus affecting their quality of life. So having said that, both, again, targeted and random are equally as concerning. But when you are managing crime and disorder, it is the random attacks that have no explanation for them. They are the most concerning for the police. So they certainly are anxious to identify this man. Again, if you have information or you think you know who this is, you certainly can remain anonymous. Give the police a call, and they will follow up with every lead. Send it back to you guys.
All right. Steve Ryan, live in Mississauga tonight. Steve, thanks so much for this. To Scarborough now, where multiple suspects are sought after 2 students were injured in a stabbing near a high school this afternoon.
CP24's Phil Perkins joins us now live from outside Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate with the very latest. So, Phil, what's your understanding, I guess? Walk us through the timeline of events here. What happened?
Yeah, hey there, Beatrice and Lena. We're just outside the plaza here at Guildwood and Livingston here in Scarborough, a tucked-in community here. And it seems like, according to police, a lot of what happened is around the Livingston Road bus stop here. You can see closely, there's a couple blood splatters, just very tiny ones here. We do understand from police that the injuries sustained to these boys, 15 and 16 years old, are minor, not life-threatening. So we're not seeing a massive scene here. But we do understand this happened around 2 o'clock this afternoon. The 2 boys are students at Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate Institute, which is not too far away from where we're standing right now. They have been taken to hospital, non-life-threatening injuries, and police are looking out for several other teenager suspects. And we do also understand that police are going to be having an update in about 25 minutes time on this, whether they have made arrests or not, or maybe we have some suspect descriptions, because all we know is that they're looking for multiple suspects. They are in their teens and they're wearing all black clothing. And so hopefully once we get that update, we'll get more information. Of course, so keep it locked here on CP24. But in the meantime, as for the 2 victims, the boys 15, 16 years old, students at Sir Wilfrid Laurier, this happened outside of school property. It seems to have culminated here at this bus stop, and they're in hospital getting treatment right now for non-life-threatening injuries. Back to you, too.
All right, Phil Perkins, thanks so much for this. And obviously, we'll take you back to that scene once that police update begins. Thank you for flagging that, Steve. Phil. Police have recovered one of 2 vehicles involved in a fatal hit and run in Scarborough last week, but they're still looking for both drivers.
They say this white cargo van was found Friday in the McCowan Road and Kingston Road area. The driver, though, still outstanding. Investigators say it was the first of 2 vehicles that struck a woman walking on Birchmount Road north of St. Clair on Thursday night.
And dash cam video showed drivers avoiding the woman as she walked in the northbound lanes of Birchmount Road. Not long before she was struck, the 27-year-old died at the scene.
Police say the woman was also hit by a dark-colored SUV that was traveling southbound on Birchmount. They're still looking for that vehicle and its driver as well. Investigators with traffic services also want to talk to the drivers of 3 vehicles that were traveling southbound on Birchmount Road at approximately 9:25 last Thursday night. Those vehicles are a black Chevy Tahoe, a light-colored SUV, and a dark sedan.
Well, a 4th lawyer has begun cross-examining the woman at the center of the sex assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team.
A defense lawyer for one of these hockey players on trial is suggesting it was the complainant who took control during a sexual encounter with his client. The alleged victim, who cannot be identified under a publication ban, first took the stand back on May 2nd and spent most of last week facing tough questions from the defense. Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Alex Formanton, Dylan Dubé, and Callan Foote have all pleaded not guilty to sexual assault in connection with an alleged incident that happened in London back in 2018.
Well, the family of a man with Down syndrome who's been missing for 2 years is renewing calls for information in his disappearance.
39-year-old Nathan Wise was last seen near Jane and Shepherd on this day 2 years ago. And while Nathan was living in Toronto, he grew up and still had close ties to Waterloo. His family says there have been many tips in regards to his disappearance, but there's never been a confirmed sighting of Nathan or any solid leads for police. Anyone with information is urged to come forward.
Well, Police Week is being marked all over the country.
This year's theme is Committed to Serve Together. The goal of the campaign is to increase understanding between police and the communities they serve, with hopes of building safer, more inclusive neighborhoods. Chief Myron Demkew and Mayor Olivia Chow helped kick off the week during an event at Fairview Mall this morning.
The City of Toronto is proud to acknowledge the hard work of the Toronto Police Service in caring for the well-being of our communities. And I, therefore, Mayor Olivia Chow, on behalf of City Council and, of course, Councillor Shirley Carroll, do hereby proclaim May 11th to the 17th as National Police Week in the City of Toronto. Chief Demkew, may I present this to you? Thank you.
Today, many members of the Toronto Police Service are joining us to meet with the public, including members from our mounted unit. We have members from traffic services here, forensic identification, to name just a few. Throughout the week, we will host various pop-up events. We will be at Scarborough Town Centre, Sherway Gardens, Eaton Centre, Yorkdale Mall. You can follow our social media accounts for more details. Please come visit us. We look forward to answering any questions you might have.
The Toronto Police Service is in the midst of a hiring blitz with the goal of bringing on 720 new officers by 2026.
It is 5:39, 25 degrees. Let's get a check on the evening commute home with CP24's Adjwet and Siabwa. If you're going to be stuck in traffic, it might as well be beautiful out, right?
You know, you want something to look at while you're stuck in traffic. But if you are making your way out, you have something to look at that cleared. So your drive on the 401 at least, westbound, about to get a whole lot better. And the drive on the southbound 404, also going to get a whole lot better because we had a vehicle fire that was being cleaned up. It was the southbound 404 on-ramp to the westbound 401 via the collectors. That ramp was completely closed. You can see cars now accessing the ramp, and at one point we had emergency crews blocking the right lane of the collectors. So this is why it is really busy. It's not just rush hour traffic. If you're on the westbound 401 and southbound 404, still really busy from before Finch. This problem just cleared. Eastbound 401, problem still with us. Most of the vehicles are gone, but we still have emergency crews. Eastbound 401 collectors through Dixie. Collision does have the right lane blocked, and you know what? Problems to deal with now on the northbound 427 in the collectors just as you make your way north of Burnhamthorpe. It is a stall, and it does have the left lane and shoulder occupied. On city streets, heads up, we are still dealing with the collision blocking lanes on Sherbourne and the Lakeshore. I'll send it back to you both.
Adjwet, thanks so much. It's 5:41, 25 degrees. This is Live at 5.
We're live at King and Church, where work has now begun to replace more than a century-old water main. We'll tell you how long the construction is expected to last coming up after the break. Welcome back. Well, work has now begun at King and Church to replace 142-year-old water mains in the area, and a busy downtown intersection is set to fully close this summer.
Let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan for those details. What's the reaction been like, Melissa?
Yeah, people aren't really thrilled about the whole thing. As in the evening rush is on right now, and it's probably not coming as welcome news to anyone who's hitting this intersection for the first time this week, because work just got underway yesterday. So I'm at King East and Church here, and this intersection is where it's all going to be going down. Construction, that is, right through to the end of the summer. It has already started on the north side of King Street. We could see a lot of equipment, workers on the street already here. It's going to continue this way for a while. That allows one lane of traffic going in each direction. And then once the north side is finished, they're going to move to the south side. So same thing. We're going to have one lane of traffic in either direction on the north side. But then come July, this entire intersection is shutting down to traffic in all directions. This is all for water main work. We're also going to be seeing the TTC doing repairs on tracks in this area, replacing those as well. We're going to be seeing, right now anyway, replacement buses going through this area, but no streetcars. They're diverting a number of streetcar routes diverting through this area. So keep that in mind when you're planning your route. Also expect to see more streetcar traffic. Places like Richmond, on Adelaide, on Queen. I want to share some of the feedback we've been hearing from downtown commuters about all this today. Have a listen.
I kind of commute down this road every day, and yeah, I mean, it's going to suck. I'm going to walk a lot, but apart from that, it'll be fine. It's the summer at least.
There's only 2 seasons in Toronto, winter and construction. We just finished winter, constant construction. It's kind of sad, but we have to put up with it for improvements.
And TTC cars, streetcars, they're not going to be able to go through this route either.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be buses, so a lot of challenges, especially for those people who work on Bay Street and need to access Bay Street. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge. They really got to communicate properly with us.
I don't know how I'm going to get to school.
Do you take the streetcar through this area?
Yeah, like I can walk, but if I'm late for a class, that's going to be a problem.
So some of the recommendations, of course, plan ahead, especially if you're taking the TTC through this area. You might be picking up the streetcar, picking up a replacement bus at a different area than you normally would. As for drivers, you probably want to avoid the intersection of King East and Church right through to September, maybe. That's also when the TTC says streetcar service will fully resume as normal. But we got a lot of months to get through before then. Until then, this construction action going to be sticking around this very busy intersection. Back to you, Lena and Beatrice.
Yeah, summer season, synonymous with construction season. Melissa Duggan getting a close look at some of those construction cones and pylons there. Thanks so much for this. Well, Ontario's finance minister delivered his annual pre-budget speech in Toronto today, saying the fiscal plan he'll unveil later this week will defend businesses and support workers amid the trade war with the U.S.
We're protecting Ontario not just from tariffs, but from whatever challenges may face our economy, our workers, and communities for decades to come. It starts with a strong fiscal position, because you can't build a strong economy without a strong balance sheet. And thanks to our government's responsible management of the province's finances over the years, we are in a stronger position to act to support workers and businesses.
The Ford government is set to table its budget on Thursday. It'll be the first provincial budget to be introduced since President Donald Trump imposed tariffs on some Canadian goods. Premier Doug Ford has promised to spend $22 billion on infrastructure as part of a stimulus package in response to the trade dispute.
We're learning more this evening about Prime Minister Mark Carney's new cabinet, which is set to be unveiled tomorrow.
The Prime Minister's office says fewer than 30 people will make up Carney's front bench, and over half will be rookies. Carney's also opting to assign junior ministers who will assist those leading high-priority portfolios. His cabinet will be sworn in at a ceremony at Rideau Hall at 10:30 tomorrow morning.
And CTV News political commentator Scott Reid says Carney's new cabinet will be expected to hit the ground running when it comes to restructuring Canada's relationship with the U.S. and addressing the impact of the trade war.
I do think as a consequence, you're going to see people in economic portfolios, and they're going to be given a lot of room to run. Go get things built. Take advantage of this window of crisis. Get the permission of Canadians to build energy infrastructure. Get energy to markets. Deal with the United States and start to build relations with the EU and other parts of the world. I think that's going to shape his focus as prime minister, and he's going to put the people he trusts most into the portfolios that execute against that.
Carney has previously pledged to keep Trudeau's gender parity rule that maintains an equal number of men and women.
It is 5:48, 25 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
The new Pope spoke at his first news conference with the world's media. We're going to hear from Pope Leo next.
Hamas has now released the last living American-Israeli hostage held in Gaza.
The militant group says it freed Idan Alexander as a goodwill gesture toward the Trump administration to try to revive talks on ending the war. The Israeli military said Alexander was with the Red Cross and is now with Israeli forces. The 21-year-old has been held captive since the Hamas terror attack on Israel in October 2023. His release comes as Trump is set to visit the region later this week.
A group of well-wishers lined the streets to cheer as the convoy carrying Idan Alexander drove by, arriving at a military base in southern Israel.
And at least 16 people were killed in Israeli strikes on a school turned shelter in the Jabalia area of Gaza today.
Local health officials say at least 5 children and 4 women are among the dead. After ending a ceasefire 2 months ago, Israel is intensifying the war, where its 10-week blockade on food, medicine, and other supplies is now worsening the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
And Pope Leo XIV is calling for the release of imprisoned journalists during his first news conference with the world's media today.
Let me therefore reiterate today the Church's solidarity with journalists who are imprisoned for seeking and reporting the truth, while also asking for their release.
In front of an audience with nearly 6,000 journalists, the new pope reiterated the Church's solidarity with imprisoned journalists for seeking the truth. He quoted his predecessor saying, "Let us disarm words, and we will help disarm the world."
And earlier this month, Pope Leo XIV reopened the papal apartment at the Vatican's Apostolic Palace. It was sealed after the death of Pope Francis. It's not known yet if Pope Leo will live in the apartment.
It's 5:54, 25 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
The NBA draft lottery is being held in Chicago tonight. We're going to tell you what the chances are of the Raptors winning the first overall pick.
It is now a best-of-3 series for the Leafs and Panthers after Florida took Game 4 last night.
On it, 2-on-1, Bennett to the net, scores!
Sam Bennett and Carter Verhaeghe were the only goal scorers in this one, lifting the Panthers to a 2-0 win. The series is now tied at 2 apiece, with the home team winning all of the games so far. Joseph Wall made 35 saves for the Leafs.
9 seconds left here in regulation. Heavy hit on Barkov.
Max Domi has avoided suspension for a hit in the midst of this scuffle at the end of last night's game. The Leafs forward was given a major penalty for boarding Panthers captain Alex Barkov with 8 seconds left in the third period. Domi was fined $5,000 by the league, but will be eligible to play, thankfully, in Game 5 on Wednesday.
And we talked to some Leaf fans about how they're feeling the day after the Game 4 loss.
I was surprised that they took the first 2 games, but I figured going into Florida I didn't think they'd win 2, but I was hoping they'd win at least 1. If they won the first game, put them on their heels, but it's a 7-game series, so there's 2 more at home at least.
Obviously, we've been down this road so many times, and it hasn't always ended the best, but we've made it to the second round. Hopefully we can go all the way now.
I think we got a better shot since the 60s. I think this is the time to win it, and this is the year to do it, so let's go Leafs.
As any perpetual Leafs fan will tell you, this is our year. Every year they say that. But hopefully this year, the series, it comes back to Toronto now, playing at home, Game 5 on Wednesday.
This year does feel different, I have to say. Does. Well, the NBA draft lottery is being held in Chicago tonight.
The Raptors have a 7.5% chance of winning the first overall pick after finishing with the 7th worst record in the NBA this season. The last time the Raps were in this position, was in 2021 when they moved up to 4th overall to select Scotty Barnes. Duke freshman phenom Cooper Flagg is widely projected to go at the top of the draft. The lottery gets underway at 7 o'clock
We'll
tonight.
keep our eyes peeled for that. It's 5:59, 25 degrees. You're watching Toronto's breaking news, CP24. Also following this story really closely, leaving you with a live look now of Guildwood Parkway and Livingston Road. This is in Scarborough near Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate, where 2 students were stabbed today, and police are set to provide an update on the investigation at 6:30 p.m.
Thanks so much for watching. CTV News at 6 is coming up next.